Welcome to a team selection video for Game Week 35, a double game week. However, before we get into that, unfortunately, I have to review how Game Week 34 went. And as it did for probably many of you, a very poor game week, one of the worst this season. And a lot of it is kind of outside our control, but some decisions I made did play a part. And I went from around 64k to 74k. So unfortunately, a significant red arrow. And it could have been worse considering the Manchester United game against Liverpool got postponed, and that could be moved to game week 36. So that means that Manchester United won't blank in 36 as they were originally supposed to, but that means they're not going to have many breaks, especially with the Europa League factored in. So it's going to be a bit of a tricky situation to navigate. But game week 34, as you can see, 34 points overall. I've got 2,138 at least. 1,000 would be disastrous. But yeah, Mendy in goal with 7 points. And at one point, he had pretty much half of my team's overall points. And I look at my defense, only 2 from Cody. Alexander-Arnold and Shaw didn't even play. I had Rudiger, who I expected him to obviously be out. Tuchel did say that he's got a little knock, facial injury, I believe. But that's fine. I expected Keane, Shaw, Arnold to all fill in, and unfortunately Keane he was on the bench. He recovered from an injury, but he's still on the bench, and Shaw and Arnold obviously didn't play. And then you look at my midfield, Fernandes and Salah didn't play. Son, though, with 12 points, was very impressive, and obviously in hindsight, him and Bale were the best to captain. And to be honest, even in the deadline stream, I was actually talking about Bale and saying he was a very good option, and if you wanted to go differential, he's one of the ones I would recommend. And in the end, Bale got 21 points, Son got 12, and Son did get a goal disallowed. Lingard with 2 points, that's another blank, which obviously very unlike him at the moment, but that's 2 blanks in a row. Vidra with 2 points, he came off my bench. Iheanacho with an assist. But yeah, very disappointing overall. Kane captain with only 4 points against Sheffield United. And then obviously Jota's another one who didn't play, and Forster as well. So in general, just a very shocking week. My captaincy was poor, and I've been doing very well with the captaincy recently. And yeah, a lot of my big hitters didn't play. My defence was just shambolic, really. So if it wasn't for Mendy, really I'd be looking at a very poor score. It's basically just Son and Mendy who did well. Iheanacho also got an assist, but everyone else blanking. So just have to move on. Sometimes these weeks can happen, especially in a season like this. But moving on to game week 35, and this is how my team is looking at the moment. But I'll be honest, I'm not too convinced with certain players. But Mendy in goal should play both games. Manchester City could seal the title against Chelsea if they do win that game. And Mendy does face Arsenal after, where, to be fair, they could keep a clean sheet, especially if Arsenal approach the game in the wrong manner, which they definitely could do. But you would expect 1 clean sheet there from Chelsea out of those 2 games. But then again, if Arsenal and City were to score, you wouldn't be too surprised. But I do have Rudiger and Mendy double up in defence. However, going forward, as I'll be discussing in my transfer plans section, Mendy is someone that could make way very soon. Trent Alexander-Arnold at home to Southampton. However, if I do bring in another double game week player on top of who I have already, then Arnold could go to the bench, him or Lingard. But that's just a decision that I need to make afterwards. Keane, I'll be honest, he's one of the players that I'm looking at, and just I'm not entirely sure, because is he going to start again? Godfrey seems to be the kind of main central defender now at Everton, and they also have Mina, they have Holgate. However, Holgate can be a bit suspect, and so can Keane, to be fair. You look at his last performance against Spurs, very, very suspect. So I'm not too sure about him. The reason why I brought him in is because he's nailed, but if he's not going to play, he's just a waste of money and obviously time. Luke Shaw, who's got a double game week, and he could have the game week in 36 against Liverpool. So yeah, pretty happy to keep Shaw at the moment. Not great fixtures on paper for Manchester United, but with the quality that they possess, you would expect Shaw, Bruno, and any other United assets like Cavani or Greenwood to produce the goods. And then you look at my midfield, Son and Salah, they both have only a single game week, but they have the potential to shine, and they could even be good captaincy options. And Lingard is in there at the moment, but that may change. And Bruno right now is my captain, and Iheanacho is my vice. I think I'm going to be sticking to that. And even if I was on a free hit, Bruno would be right at the top of my list in terms of captaincy. He'd be in my top 2 or 3, and same with Iheanacho, to be fair. And Kane, away to Leeds. He hasn't scored so far under Ryan Mason, and to be fair, he only played the Carabao Cup final and against Sheffield United. And even though he was offside on both occasions, his finishing was very poor, and it was Bale and Son who obviously produced the goods. But I still obviously wouldn't, knee-jerk selling Kane just yet. I'd want to see a bit more, but if he starts blanking in the next few games, then obviously there is an argument to just get rid of him, and we are approaching the end of the season anyway. And my bench right now is Forster in goal. However, Hasenhüttl made it very, very clear that he's going to start the next 2 games, which means game week 35, but the game week where we want him to start against Fulham in game week 36, unfortunately, that means McCarthy's going to start the next 2. So that's kind of the policy he's having at the moment. So Forster starts the next 2, and both of them lie in game week 35. And then McCarthy will start in game week 36 and 37. That's according to Ralph Hasenhüttl himself. And that's a big shame because Forster could have filled in for Mendy when he blanks in game week 36 with that fixture against Fulham. However, I'm going to probably need to make a goalkeeper transfer. Otherwise, I'm going to be down to 10 men at least if I just kept things as they are in the sticks. Jota's the first substitute at home to Southampton. I could arguably play him, but he's a bit of another one where he's going to get minutes here and there, and he could even do something from the bench, but I ideally want players who start. So there is completely a fair argument to be made to move Jota to Zaha, who, to be fair, does have an injury concern, or Greenwood, and I think they're 2 very good options around that price bracket who have a double game week. Cody at home to Brighton, they could keep a clean sheet, but Wolves have been very poor, and I can't wait to get rid of Cody if I'm being honest. And Vidra is just the 3rd substitute. Away to Fulham, he could do something, but it's not Chris Wood, is it? And he's the main guy for Burnley. Vidra, he's also another one who his minutes can be managed. Sometimes he'll come on as a substitute, and sometimes he'll be substituted early. So overall, I look at my team, and there's quite a few issues I have with it, but as I said before, Bruno Fernandes captaincy more or less kind of sealed. It's between him and Iheanacho, so I'll wait and see what happens in the Europa League with Manchester United, but I do fancy Bruno Fernandes to break the duck in terms of his kind of blank run, where he's blanked in 6 of the last Premier League games, 6 of the last 8 should I say. And I look at the rest of my team and I'm not really thoroughly impressed, to be honest, but that's why there are transfers to be made. And of course I'm not going to be making 4 of them, as you can see on screen, but these are kind of my next few moves that I have planned, and I'll explain them. So at the moment, what I am thinking of is getting Coleman and Soufal for Keane and Cody, and that would be pretty good going forward in terms of having Soufal. I probably wouldn't start him this week, but with Coleman he can start obviously in game week 35, and he's got a good fixture in 36, which is obviously very appealing, and even in 37 he could arguably be played. And Soufal has good fixtures from 36 to 38, and it can help me kind of navigate the blanks for players like Rudiger and Iheanacho. So that's why I'm thinking the kind of problem I have with these 2 moves is that Coleman is someone who's not entirely nailed in that Everton side, but I do think he's been playing well, and he has started quite a few games recently. But will he play the double game week and against Sheffield United in 36? I'm not entirely sure about that, but if he does, I would rather have him than Keane, who is another one who might have lost his spot. So not entirely sure about that transfer, but I do like the Soufal one going forward, although maybe this week he wouldn't be that ideal. But that would be 2 free transfers. And then going into game week 36, Mendy does blank, and so does Chelsea. And then after that, they have difficult fixtures in Leicester City and Aston Villa. And I already have Rudiger for Chelsea covered there. So what I could do is move Mendy to Meslier, and that gives me a bit more money to work with. And then I can move Iheanacho to Antonio in game week 37. And Iheanacho actually blanks in game week 36. So there is a kind of argument to be made for me to actually get rid of him for a -4 maybe, or if not for free in game week 36. Because after that, Leicester City face Chelsea and Spurs. And that's a good time to get rid of him. Antonio looked very good the other day for West Ham against Burnley, and he's got good fixtures to end the season. And I think West Ham assets, I think they're worth going on to, even if you only have 1 or 2. I think having a triple up could be worth it. I wouldn't triple up on their attack, however. I think double is more than enough. And some people are going to be getting rid of Lingard, especially with his recent form, but those are my next 4 transfers planned at the moment. Another thing that I could do is move Jota to Greenwood or Zaha. That is also a possibility. Other than that, I look at the rest of my team. I most likely will be keeping Kane. Vidra is just a substitute. Son, although obviously if Bale starts, I would like to have him. I think Son is just doing just fine. 2 double-digit returns in 2 games with Ryan Mason. And Salah, would be keeping him, good fixtures, and could have a double in game week 36. And then, I think the rest of it, I like my defense. I like Trent, Shaw, and I'd probably be keeping things as they are. So those are kind of the main positions I'm looking to improve on and to kind of target the fixtures, but I'm not entirely sure. And if we have some news about Zaha before the deadline, that would be pretty good, and maybe I will go for him. I don't trust Crystal Palace. I don't necessarily trust Zaha, but the fixtures are so good, it might be worth a punt in game weeks 35 and 36. And then after that, you could potentially get rid, although Zaha can do well against Arsenal too. But that's kind of my transfer plans at the moment, and that's how my team is looking like in double game week 35. I'll be honest, it's kind of just a case of, I've got 2 free transfers, but I'm not entirely sure what I want to do. But if I am kind of a bit more sure about Coleman and players like this, then I might make those 2 moves that I said in defence, with Keane and Cody making way for Soufal and also Mr. Coleman. But ideally I would want Digne, but I just can't afford it, and especially with the other moves in mind like Antonio, or even if I wanted to make a change in midfield. And there's also the Mendy to Meslier transfer, which I probably have to make anyway, considering the fact that Forster probably won't play in 36 based on Hasenhüttl's kind of logic with his goalkeeper rotation, and Chelsea blanking in game week 36. There's plenty to kind of think about, and the Liverpool versus Manchester United game should be rescheduled by the end of this week, and if not by next week. And the kind of suspicion is that it will fall under game week 36, so Manchester United won't blank and Liverpool will have a double game week. So bear all of that stuff in mind, and hopefully this video has been useful to you. And if you have any problems or anything like that, as you already know, just leave them down in the comment section below and I'll get back to you. And smash the like button if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you're new and you enjoy the content. There will be more FPL and UCL fantasy videos coming in the future. We're really close to the finish, and all the very best of luck, and hopefully you get those green arrows and you keep on progressing and enjoy the football as always, and I'll see you next time.